The European Court of Justice has ruled that Malta's citizenship by investment scheme must end, saying it violates EU law. Could Portugal's Golden Visa be next? If you're even thinking about applying, this ruling might change everything. I talked to Sam, a top senior advisor at one of the world's leading financial services companies. Here's what you need to know fast. Well, Sam, there's been massive news out of Malta about the Golden Visa, which could change things in Europe and change the Portuguese visa. So let's talk about that.
Okay, correct. So at the moment, Malta is very well known for having what they call a citizenship by investment scheme. Now, the idea of that is someone invests money and in return they will get a passport. It'll be a Malta passport, but an EU passport. What's actually happened is the EU Commission has looked at this from Malta's perspective. Look, this is not really in the fairness of the EU. We don't believe that's right. It's gone to the EU court. The EU court has looked at Malta's Golden Visa program and essentially said, no, it's unlawful. It's being looked at now by Malta, but with a view it will be abolished. It's not what they call lawful. That's now focused the eyes, as you can imagine, on other Golden Visa programs that are out there.
Okay, so how has that changed, I guess, the Portuguese Golden Visa? And what about the recent elections? What's happened there?
Portuguese Golden Visa, and so to make it clear, is a residency by investment program. So the idea of that is you essentially invest some money, then after a period of time, in Portugal's case, that's 5 years, you can then convert that residency into citizenship. So you can then get your passport. It's 5 years. Now for Portugal, that's quite a short amount of time compared to some of the other programs that have been out there. Spain used to be 10 years, so it's a short amount of time. Now, in terms of what effect that will have, the EU will essentially look at other programs such as Portugal and think, well, are you buying citizenship?
Okay.
Now, you could argue Portugal, well, it's a residency by investment program, but where Portugal really stands out is that you only get your passport in 5 years, not any longer, which is quite a short amount of time. But to make it even more appealing for people, they only have to stay 1 week per year during that 5 years in order to then be able to apply for their passport in year 6.
Okay.
So they don't need to become tax resident. They can essentially just hold this asset that they have for 5 years, live in the country they're in at the moment, and then get citizenship. So you can imagine the EU looking at this and looking at Malta thinking, well, that you're buying citizenship. And it was very expensive in Malta, I will say. It cost it anywhere between 600 and 750,000 euros. That was almost a donation to the government.
Okay.
Then you had to buy a property as well. Then you had to invest some more money. It was very expensive. But essentially they looked at it, you are buying a passport. And that is not within what the EU like, how they do business, if you like. When someone now looks at Portugal, they're going to look at, well, hang on, someone's not really committing to living in that country for that period of 5 years. They're not committing, they're only there for 1 week per year. So logically, the focus is going to go on to Portugal. One of Malta's responses to the ruling was that we're not the only people doing this. Now, I don't know who they were pointing out there, but it could well have been Portugal, because that is a few remaining EU Golden Visa programs that are out there, and it is by far the best program that's out there. Now, you mentioned about the elections and what's happened there. Well, this is the third election, I believe, in 4 years. It's a snap elections.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and we've got the AD coalition back in again. Now, at the outset, they have stated that they want to tighten naturalisation requirements for people getting citizenship.
Okay.
Now that's going to mean one of two things, or possibly two of two things. One will be you only have to stay 1 week per year for 5 years. Well, obviously, that's not really showing a commitment to living in that country. So in my view, the likelihood would be you have to stay more than 6 months in a year, which is what Spain used to be, in that you become tax resident. But at the moment, you don't need to do that. And the 5 years until you get the passport could well be extended. Now, we don't know this, but this is likely what they're going to be looking at. Now, when you combine the two situations together, you've kind of got that perfect storm of these programs are going to be looked at, and particularly Portugal. You've got to also remember Spain withdrew theirs.
Completely, right? It's completely gone now.
Completely gone. And not just for 1 or 2 different areas, it's completely gone. You can't get it. So there's very few available ones left. Portugal is there. And as I say, by far it's the best one that's out there, because you can essentially get an EU passport, essentially like having 27 passports in one, just by having that investment amount for 5 years. And then in year 6, you can get that passport.
Okay, but now with them checking into Malta, it's possible that the EU is going to be looking a little more at Portugal, and with the elections, there could be changes to the Golden Visa.
Absolutely right. To me, it's not if, it's going to be a matter of when. You can look at the setup of the Portuguese Parliament, if you like, now. It was a win for the AD coalition, but it wasn't an overwhelming majority. So it is going to be a little bit harder for them in terms of the seats that they've got to get a lot of what they want to do through, but it will happen. if you say this is a third election in 4 years, we don't know if there's going to be another election next year. I mean,
they seem to like doing this.
They like elections, so it could well be that there is a new one next year. And even if not, I mean, you look at the government that we were in before the AD coalition, the ones that actually changed the Golden Visa to remove property, because you can't do property within the Golden Visa with Portugal. There are other options, but you can't do property. That wasn't actually the AD coalition that did that. That was the Socialist Party a couple of years ago. So they had their eye on the Golden Visa. So obviously they make up quite a lot of seats in the Parliament. You've now got the AD coalition making up quite a lot of seats in the Parliament. But between them two, they would be able to get a majority. So I think a combination of that and Malta, it's not a matter if it's going to change, it will be when. The only interesting thing for people that are looking at it, we know the way Portugal work, the way they do it with NHR, non-habitual residency, the tax regime that was in Portugal when that got removed. They were on the people that are already into that. So if you're already in, you're in. And it will take a while for any changes to take effect. But we know they will change. And if you look at the amount of Golden Visa programs over the years that have been removed and have gone, there's a lot of them. Yeah. So, yeah, it is going to go. So anybody, as I say, that's interested in it, need to be looking now, because there's enough things going on in the world that suggest that this may well change.
Yeah, because they've even been changing the Golden Visa in Portugal with what you can and can't use, right? So they've been tightening that as well. So it is possible at some point they'll just completely get rid of it, like Spain did, for example.
Like Spain did. We thought when Spain changed, it was going to be a matter of, we just remove property. Like Portugal did, because Spain was sort of talking about the reason that they were looking at the Golden Visa program was because of the house prices, the increase in house prices, people get on the housing ladder, etc., etc. But in reality, that would mean that you would just remove property. But they didn't, they removed the whole thing. And somewhat it depends on what government you have coming in. Now, as we know, Portugal at the moment is a little bit unstable in terms of the three different parties all fighting. They're really quite even. That it's not going to take much, I think, for one of them to basically just completely get rid of it. It's either that or they're going to tighten the very minimum tighten the naturalisation requirements, that they're having to stay there for 1 week. But that really is the massive benefit for this. As I say, if you say you can invest an amount of money for 5 years and then in 5 years' time get an EU passport without actually only having to holiday once a year for 1 week in that country.
It's a good deal, right?
It's a good country and it's a nice country to go on holiday for 1 week a year. And it really is a very, very unique that, and it's what's made Portugal so popular. But yeah, that part of it most certainly over the coming year or years will disappear, and then it will become less appealing maybe to some people that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, but the good news is you get grandfathered in if you already have it. So let's talk about some options. What are some Portuguese Golden Visa options? Right,
so you've now got 5 main options that you can do. The first one is you donate 250,000 euros to the Heritage. So basically it's a donation to the government.
Money gone. Okay.
Not so popular. It's nice to donate money. 250,000 is quite high. It hasn't remained too popular. Having said that, we have had people do that, so that is one option. Next option, 500,000 donation to research. It's less popular than the Heritage. Yeah. So that one's not going to do it.
If you're going to donate money to get it, you might as well do the 250. Not the 500,
exactly. So I mean, we as a company haven't done any of them. As you can see, that wouldn't be so popular. The next one is you start your own business that employs 10 people over a period of time. It's a difficult one, this, because it's very hard to suddenly start a business and think, I've got 10 people.
Yeah.
It's hard. And then to maintain them jobs over a 3-year period, it's really, really difficult. So again, unless you've already got a business in place and you're moving it to Portugal, which may work, again, it's less used. The 2 main ones, now that property has gone, the first one, now both of these are a minimum of 500,000. But you can do it for less, which I'll mention in a second. But both of them are 500,000. The first one is 500,000 invested into an investment fund in Portugal. Now with this, there's about 30 or 35 around that amount of funds that would qualify, because there's a set of rules for these funds. So these funds have to invest more than 60% into the Portuguese economy. There's various other rules for them. So basically there's 30 to 35 funds available. You pay 500,000, you invest your money into that fund. It's your money, you're not donating it, and then you can take it out in year 6 when you get your passport and you've made some money. But you have to be very careful with funds, as people will be aware. There's all different types of funds out there. You sometimes have entry fees to go into the fund, so you might have to pay a certain percentage to invest. You might have exit fees. So in year 5, you think, okay, I'm going to get my passport, I want this money back, and then you're charged a lot of money. You get ongoing fees. So there could be quite a lot of fees included. However, there are some really good funds where, for example, you can have interest paid up front. So instead of actually having to invest 500,000, you can invest less than that, around 399,000, actually have interest paid up front, and then have a guaranteed exit in year 5.
Okay.
500,000. So essentially, you pay 399,000, 101,000 interest comes back to you, so it's invested with your money. But then in year 5, at the end, when you qualify for that passport, you've got a guaranteed 500,000 that comes out. So we know there are funds that do that. We've got literally all the funds that you can look at. So we've got funds from Bitcoin to IT, to tech, all the different funds that people want. We have them available. But that again is a popular option. The final option is you invest into an existing business. So again, it's 500,000 has to be invested. And as a result of your investment, that particular business has to then keep on and employ 10 people, similar to it being your own business over a set period of time. Options are available. These tend to be hospitality options, particularly in Portugal. So we've got ones down in the Algarve, here in Porto as well. So essentially you can invest into these businesses, but they do a similar thing to the funds. Some of these businesses would actually pay you compensational interest or income up front for investing. So again, you can do it for as little as 399,000. So they will even give you funding towards it. So they'll pay, you can have up to 75,000, I believe. So it can bring your investment down to 325,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind that extra 74,000 is funding, so it has to get paid back.
Okay, with interest or?
Yeah, no, yes, but small amounts of interest, depending on which option's there. But the main point with that is that what we've tried to do is to try to make it affordable for people, because 500,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But essentially what you want to do is bring that amount down, but give people security so that they're not thinking, well, actually, I'm going to lose my money. So if you know you can invest at the out certain amount, you know you can get a guaranteed return in the 5th year. When you then qualify for the passport, you then get your money back. You've then got an EU passport. You can then live, work and retire in any of the 27 Schengen countries that are there, not just in Portugal. It's a fantastic option, but we have different options, and what's right for one person isn't right for everybody.
Sure.
And that's the key to it.
And it's stable, because I think some people are, I mean, it's a lot of money. People might be a little worried, like how stable is Portugal, the EU, so it's stable?
It's completely stable. So as a company, we look at only safe and secure investments that are available. So we do due diligence on funds, on investments to make sure that they're completely sound and that they're not putting our clients at risk, which is people's biggest worry. It's one thing getting your passport, but you want to know your money's safe. We do that. We do all the due diligence. We've also got solicitor packs, lawyer packs, which have looked at these different investments to give the reassurance that these are, completely safe, secure, and that they will qualify you, which is the most important thing, for the passport at the end of it. But the advantage to the Portuguese side of things is that it's been going, I believe, since 2012, so it's been going a long time. We've seen people go through the whole process, from getting the investment to then selling the investment after 5 years to then applying for their passport. We've been and done the process with people going through it. So it all works, and we know it works, and we know it's safe and secure.
Yeah, that's important, because that's often a question I would say, like, how do you know you'll get your passport later on? But you've seen it, you've gone through the whole process.
Absolutely. So lawyers in Portugal, big lawyer firms in Portugal, look at the different investment types that we look at and to essentially write down and say, yes, this will qualify you. So you have that reassurance that as you say, if you don't want to be investing in something and then find out it doesn't qualify you, which is, again, when you're talking about funds, it's something to be very aware of, because if you go out yourself and try to find somewhere to invest your 500,000 and think, oh, well, this should do it, and then you find out, no, it didn't have the appropriate regulator, which has to be regulated in Portugal. It wasn't invested enough into Portuguese stocks, because the whole idea of this is to raise money for the economy in Portugal. So obviously that's the most important thing. So we've done all that. We know which ones qualify, but in terms of what people are interested in, it's very different. Everybody has a different, some people are looking for a really good return, other people are just looking for the security. But ultimately, what all these people are looking for is an EU passport, particularly now where it's getting more and more difficult and more of these programs have shut down. Right,
and clients can choose within the investments which one they want?
Yeah. So we have, in terms of the investment structure, we have lots and lots of different ones available. To say we've got Bitcoin, tends to be slightly less popular, it's a little bit more risky, but we've got the tech funds, we've got hospitality funds, we've got normal multi-asset funds. So it depends on what someone's interested in. But it's about 35, I think, now that we have available for people that are interested. As I say, there's a hospitality option in terms of investing into a business. That's also particularly popular with people. But again, it's a matter of speaking to someone and thinking, what is your goal? What is your situation now? And working out what's best for them. And that's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's great, because everyone's a little different. So actually seeing what works for them.
Exactly. That's our aim, is we do what's called a fact find. When we speak to somebody, we'll go through their situation and say, okay, let's go away and find you what we think is best for you, and then we'll send across, talk someone through it. And it might be that it's not right. There are other types of visas you can get. The Golden Visa particularly is very, very popular, but it's about making sure you've got the right thing for yourself.
Right. So we're looking at a minimum of 325. better 399, but it's nice. The interest gets you up to the 500,000. So
Correct.
you have options to where you don't have to put the 500,000 all up front at once.
Correct. Most popular one we do as a company is the 399 options. There's a few different options around this, but the 399, because you invest 399, there are costs. You'll have to pay legal fees because part of the process we do a power of attorney, so we can act on the client's behalf, so they don't physically have to come over to the offices. We can deal with them. We have to open a bank account. We have to get tax numbers, but we would do all that for the client. So part of our process is to do the whole process for them.
Okay, so when you talk to someone, you lay out those fees for them as well.
Absolutely. This is what it would cost in total. The 399 option is the most popular because essentially you're getting, it equates to sort of 3.84% up front. So that's, which is best return in the world, but for a safe, secure investment where you've got a guaranteed exit point.
Stable.
It's like having your money sat somewhere for 5 years, you kind of forget about it. In 5 years' time, you get that money back and you've made that 4% per year. But more importantly, you've got that EU passport. As I say, you can fund that further with 74,000 in terms of loans. That's particular, not on all the different 399 options, but certainly there are some of the funds or the hospitality companies that will do that. Bit of help for people that are looking at a lower entry point. Obviously, the lowest entry point is a 250,000.
Yeah, that's right.
But as I say, not
but it's gone.
No, it's gone. Yeah.
So if someone's interested, can you run us through just briefly the process of like what it looks like from start to finish?
Yeah. So if somebody's interested, what we're doing initially is someone could book themselves in our diary. We'll speak to that person individually and find out exactly what they're looking for. What's the process? And we'll go through sort of questions and just get a very good feel about what's their situation. What we then do is we will go away. We will then send out, okay, based on what you're saying, these are what we feel are the best options for yourself. We'll also include a quote, so it lists all the different fees and what fees those are, so you know exactly what you're paying, how it all works, and then we'll talk you through it, make sure you completely understand it. If you're interested and that's something you want to do, then we can then move to the next step and get the process moving. That's got lots of parts to it. As a company, we have a huge back office system who literally helps someone through the whole process because it's so daunting. If you think about what you need to do to get a golden visa or a golden passport, there's so many different elements. You've got your solicitors, you've got the power of attorney, your bank accounts, everything you need to do, but we do all that for the client. So we will do all of that and then talk somebody through the process. So it's all very, very easy. The main thing initially is just to talk through your situation and see, is it right for you? Right. But also bear in mind, I'm not saying the urgency, but well, no, there is an urgency to this because bear in mind all the rulings that we've had and the Malta side of things. It's something if someone's interested in to look at now as opposed to waiting. And if it's not for somebody, it's not for somebody. But it's certainly worth investigating now rather than later. Right.
And historically, we've seen in Portugal that even when they make changes like we were talking about, they grandfather you in. So it's still understood that if you put money into the fund, you'll get it back.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. When they grandfather something in, that's a massive part of what Portugal do. Same with NHR. They will grandfather in. And if you're already in, you're in. We've got the legal packages to look at to make sure that's the case. Okay. So you're in, it's not a problem. The time it takes, it's not saying somebody has to do it tomorrow. It's not urgent right now because it will take time for, even if a change is made, for that change to go through. But it will go through, and the quicker somebody's into that system, the better. But yeah, it won't change, and then you've got your money in it, you end up with no passport. That won't be the case.
Yeah. And actually we've seen like with the NHR, when they announced it, they only gave like a few months and they said it's gone like in a couple months. So there was like a big rush for that. So it's possible if they make changes, you don't have much time once they announce it.
It's completely right. It was the same with Spain as well, but that was done incredibly quickly. We thought we'd have more time than what we did. So you can do your best to predict what's going to happen, but it's not always the case. And as I say with Spain, we thought they'd just withdraw property as an option, and when it was no, everything, it's gone. And I think it'd be a hard thing. Once it's gone, they're probably not going to bring it back. I mean, people say about the Spanish Golden Visa may come back again. It's a big step for someone to come in and bring it back again. It just probably won't happen, but you never know. But you're right, it can be done quickly. It's just better to be informed. If this is an option available to someone and this option's available, then it's worth investigating now.
Okay, so step one for those who are interested is to book a call with you.
Book a call with me. Link into my calendar, book yourself a call. It would either be myself or my colleague Shane. Shane's a senior partner. He's in charge. He looks after a lot of the products that we do. He's helped develop them as well. So myself or Shane will talk you through your situation, send you out the recommendations, and as I say, take it from there if it's something that you're interested in.
Well, after someone books a call with you, they like it, they want to move forward, how would you recommend that they transfer, especially our American viewers, USD to Euro? Because for us, like when we transfer a large amount, we had success with Spartan FX. So would you recommend them, or how would you recommend getting that chunk over to Euro?
Absolutely. As I say, we will open a bank account for someone in Portugal, but yes, you need to move the money from where it is into Portugal, and there are lots of different options you can use. Spartan is someone we've used ourselves, been very, very good, and it's a company like that you will need to use where the costs are low and it can be done for you quickly, easily, securely and reliably.
Well, thank you, Sam. And if you would like to book a call with Sam, then check the description for his calendar. And if you want to get hooked up with Spartan, then check that as well. And to see more on the Golden Visa and Sam breaking it down, check out this video right here. Now, let's get moving.